Welcome to the While My Batteries Charge podcast. Join us as we talk about all things radio controlled. And now, your host,
Folks, this man, he is the king.
Mr. CCxRC himself, Tony CC.
Hey, what is going on, you guys? Welcome to the While My Batteries Charge podcast. In this episode, man, oh man, I kind of been blown away by both what Losi has dropped and what Traxxas just dropped yesterday. So we were just talking on the Talk Your Face Off live stream about how, like, you know, after the LMT and after the Pro Moto, like, there's been some refreshes and some interesting things, but there's not been anything like super new that's dropped. Like, there's been the Groms and the Minis of things, and there's been the NASCAR, but it's still just like the Grom and on-road. But then Losi dropped their 22S sprint car. Now, sprint car has been around, and Losi actually used to have one, but they've just gone ahead and dropped a new sprint car that's ready to run. And I think the thing that really floored me on this thing was the price on it. So I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Not my thing, really. I don't really do oval racing. I did for a little while, fifth scale down in Virginia, North Carolina. The track was in North Carolina. I was living in Chesapeake, just north of North Carolina there, just across the border. And I would go down there and I'd race one fifth scale sprint and the Losi 5Ts, the four-wheel drive class. And it was awesome. I didn't think that I could like running oval, and I had some of the most fun running down there with those guys. Just lap after lap, just kind of running and trying to pass people, trying not to get passed. And it was an absolute blast. So I like the idea of doing it. And there's actually a place not too far from me for sure at Walter RC Park. They've got an oval track I could run them on. And I'm like, you know, I'm interested, but I'm not like $500 to $600 interested. And when I went on and I saw the price, you know, because I wasn't sure if they're gonna have the price drop and all that when it's kind of announced and whatever. But you know, they go with the pre-order, so I kind of hesitantly looked, and it was $350, and I'm like, boom, gotta have one. We're dropping on that. $350 for a brushless sprint car with like hard panels. The molded dry, like so much molded stuff going on here. All the extras, you can take it off and you can make it into a midget. And there's extra parts in order to do all that. I mean, come on, Losi, come on. And then Traxxas dropping that sand rail. Oh my goodness. Like, that is in the upper one where I'm like, I can't afford that right now. But man, you know, so from talking about like, there's not been really new drops that are like different and spicy. We got a whole lot of spicy hitting the RC market here this year again. So, you know, here we go. Hold on tight. I think so. I want to keep talking about this. I wanted to let you guys know what the other car was that I'm going to talk about, which will be the, of course, the Traxxas Pro Scale sand car, that they just announced yesterday. But man, oh man, there's just stuff hitting, you guys, and it's crazy. And again, I'm not trying to preach that you have to have everything that comes out, or even try to. I mean, it gets really expensive to be buying them all. But the ones that do like tickle your fancy, you know, like these ones do tickle my fancy because I have the ability to run both of them here. Now, again, the Traxxas is, I'm going to be watching that and see what people are doing with it. It's not something I'm going to be dropping money on right away as it comes out. I might think about it a little bit more and see where people are going with them. See if I have other reasons to get out to our stand dunes here. Wink, wink. Maybe four-wheelers and stuff like that. And then I would take something like that with me. But I don't really have reason to go out there right now to run them. But I'm hoping to soon. But all right, so let's talk more about this Losi. We're going to do a quick rundown on it. Not go in super in-depth on it, because there's lots of, I don't know everything about it. But there's some pretty cool stuff here that's going on with the sprint car. Like I said, it's all molded. And Losi did a pretty good in-depth video too, kind of going through talking with some of the designers of like the tires and some of the stuff that they did with the racing in mind. Now, so one of the first things to note is this won't really just drop into a class and work. So clubs are going to have to, if they want to, make a class for it. It would not hang with the purpose-built ones that they've been running in these leagues now for years. But it's also not over $1,000 and hours and hours and hours of time. This is 350 brushless. It's got some decent speeds, two-wheel drive, but it's got, again, hard molded panels. But what's neat is you could have multiple classes for it. Like you could do midget, like I was saying, because you can remove the wing. People could make other things to modify them even more. So if they want to just kind of go this route and kind of do a modified versions of these, they could make modified stuff if they wanted for them, and take it to the next level. But they've got one of the cool things is they give you the templates for these plastic body panels as well, so you can make your own liveries, which is super cool because that's what people want to be doing with these. That was what's so cool about the custom ones right now anyway, and that people are running. While Losi did a pretty awesome job with their designs, the blue and pink one, man, it shines. I went with the green and black one just because that's my thing. I love the lime green and black and white and stuff. But they've got option parts coming out for, some of the fears I hear people talk about is Losi part support and how it can be hard. And like, will the parts be available because they can't get them for their NASCARs right now? I think the NASCAR thing, for one, took off way bigger than expected. I do think that we'll start seeing other companies also start offering, like I could start seeing maybe RPM and some other people picking up some of those parts. I know people like FureTech will be doing electronics and stuff for those smaller ones, the Grom style. They're already doing that. And so you might find some pieces there. But so I mean, it's a real fear if there's a struggle to get the parts for them, because especially when you get into racing, people buy them up a lot more than in the bashers. So hopefully they will have the part support for these. I know there's been talk about the different wheel tire sizing and how they did that with the I think it was like the 1.7 2.2 that they did for these, like the inner diameter and outer diameter of your tires. They wanted the more scale look on the outside of them, and so they went with that smaller size 1.7, so you'd have more tire on the outward facing, so it'd look more scale. But then they wanted that short course stability on the inside and the clearance, right? So they can get their knuckles and all that inside there in order to get that scale appearance, because we are working in a little bit, with different parts and stuff than real one-to-one. So they're kind of fakey some of it in order to make it perform and also still look scale. So they've killed it with the scale, the way that they've done the molded parts, the headers and all that going out and having that kind of patina to them, looking like they've been hot. It's just, awesome. And again, 350 brushless, also aluminum shock bodies on them. All of this custom molding and all that work that they've done. 350. It's crazy. So it's two-wheel drive. They've got Hoosier tires officially licensed on here. For $400 you can get it ready to run with a battery and a charger. It's not a fast charger or anything, but it gets you what you need to run it. What's cool too is the receivers that they have on here will bind up to your other Spectrum receivers. Metal transmissions are already TLR tuned parts that they're making for it, for those of you that are really looking to race it. But the scale details are pretty crazy in it. And what's the brushless? It's running a 3650 can that's 3300 kV. So they say delivers maximum speeds of about 25 plus. Now we're doing smaller oval. That's decent power. It's going to get up and go on those straightaways and then get you down. So it is a DSMR 2-channel SR215 receiver. But yeah, here they're showing the winged versus non-winged. And yeah, there's the plates and everything that come in here to replace that front wing and everything that comes along with it. But definitely did a really cool job. I love how they did the body cage, the mounting and all that to kind of just clip in and out without having body clips, but it's a just kind of a button press and lift out. It's pretty slick. They've got a little lever on it. But lots coming for it. Very simplistic in the layout of it. And they were talking a little bit about how they do the slipper and all that, kind of like their race stuff. But it's meant to really hold up to hitting it on the racetrack. But I'm pretty impressed with all that they did, especially at the price that they were able to keep it. So I can't wait to get my hands on one and start turning left. They're not showing it in this particular photos here for those of you that are watching the video, but they even got the wheel covers. Here's one, a good look at it, and as well as the green body here. But yeah, man, I'm excited to go in circles again. I'm still trying to get my hands on one of the NASCARs. I wasn't willing to drop early on that, and now I'm wanting one. But I'm waiting for the new liveries, which you have to now. But it's pretty cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Pro Scale sand car from Traxxas. And didn't see this coming from anywhere. Henny Storm posted it on his Facebook, and I said something like, well, now that looks rad or whatever. That's pretty awesome. And it's about the size of an X-Max as far as length. They've got cool whips on it that light up. Now, the one thing that I would say I was a little bummed about is that when I saw the first photos and everything, I thought it had aluminum arms on it, but they're just chrome plated plastic, which being on sand and having sand thrown at it, as in my opinion, is going to chip up and it's going to sandblast it basically. So that's kind of a bummer, but yeah, it's based on the Funko Motorsports officially licensed replica of their, which model is that? New Traxxas. What's it called? I think it says later. We'll find it. But yeah, they're saying X series sized. Scale details pretty cool. And actually the way, I mean, their design on this, I know Traxxas loves to run their color schemes, and the pattern that they use in their graphics it's very Traxxas. You notice it. And with this, it's also very Traxxas in the lines and the colors that they used. But the little detail of how they put their name in and all of that in to create pattern and all that, it's pretty cool on this. They've got pretty cool paddle tires on here. But they've got actual front disc brakes. Now, because it's 4-wheel drive, you don't have front brakes in most 2-wheel drive. I said 4-wheel drive. Because it's 2-wheel drive, you don't normally have braking power on the front wheels because they just spin. Well, they've created front disc brakes for this in order to allow you to have 4-wheel stopping power for it, which is pretty awesome. Hopefully it'll take some of the wear off of the only thing being the braking is the rear. Plus it's scale and super cool looking. It's 8S, and they've got this pretty rad drive line from the motor kind of into a transmission gear to a diff. It's pretty cool. It's pretty slick, and it's going to be able to handle a lot of that power transfer because you're running paddle tires and they just hook up. And so there's a lot of strain put on the drivetrain in doing so. And so they've put bigger out drive cups on it, and they've also kind of, it says they've reinforced the diff, the X-Max diff. So but yeah, it's pretty cool to see what they've done with it. The whips look amazing. They look amazing. 1200 XL motor, VXL 8S ESC, $1,300. That's the hard part on it. Videos on are outstanding. The RC driver video showing going over 50 with battle tires on was kind of sketch. I will say, I was like, oh boy, this is going to end bad, but really, really sketch and cool what he was able to pull off with it. But yeah, compared to the one they've nailed it. It looks very much like the sand car for the Funko Pro Scale, and they show what they've done with the design and all that. Moving down, color options I think are pretty standard of theirs. The blue, red, green, and then there's I can't tell what the other one is. Orange, I guess. Yeah. So, but you can see very Traxxas graphics on the side. But I do like what they did with their name in kind of the creating pattern out of that, between the whatever the main primary color is, the fade to the black is pretty rad. But lots of detail stuff. If you were to actually get on their website, you can click through and see all about it and the drivetrain and everything that they've done. I'm trying to see here if I can pull up and if it says anything about. So it does have GT Max shocks, and they've got like a fake reservoir on them. They're not real, but it gets the look across. Somewhere in here it shows the. Oh man, there's another. Wow, there's even one more. Okay, so there's multiple layers that we can go here. Functional disc brakes. There it goes. That's what I was trying to pull up and show, with brake rotors and everything. But here you can actually kind of see those gearing and all that, the way they open it up. Pretty awesome drive line on it, I will say. But it was something I didn't see coming. And when you look at the wheels up on it and they're just ripping through sand, there are going to be street tires available for it as well if you don't live by sand or dirt or, the type of terrain that you'd want to run something like this in. There will be other tire options available, not in the ready to run, at least not right away. But there will be some other things you can get for it to change it out. But I mean, that's what it's meant for. It's kind of a purpose built thing. So, if you've got stuff you want to rip up, some sand, beaches and stuff like that, it's going to be right up your alley. And like I said, we've got so many sand dunes and beaches here in West Michigan. I think it's going to actually do really, really well out here. The biggest thing holding it back being the price, but people are willing to drop a lot of money on these things. So you're going to see quite a few of them going out. And I think they're going to look amazing. They're going to look amazing ripping the beaches. That's all I got to say. So I was talking with Pablo about it, and one about the aluminum not being aluminum or metal arms, and being the chrome plated. I kind of hope that there's just a black option available. I get that looks really cool. But I think there's going to come a point where it's going to chip so much that it's not going to look cool. So we'll see. We'll see how that all holds up. But if that were the case for me, I'd rather just have black if that's available. So I talked to one of our dealers here, and they said they're going to get one in. I want to take a look at it in person. It's definitely, the real car itself has kind of a weird look to it. But they nailed it as far as kind of copying that look. They've got the dimensions and the geometry of it down pretty well. And yeah, it's an interesting look for sure, but when it's actually out and running and you're not just looking at the shape of it, which is very shark-like in my opinion, it's cool when it's running. So don't have much more to say about it. Don't have all the details other than watching some of the videos, and you should just go watch them to get them. But my impression of it is it's going to do well. Most Traxxas stuff does. There's some that didn't. Like, surprisingly, actually, the Haas didn't have a very long shelf life with the bunny hop and that kind of cool stuff that I thought it did. And it actually handled really, really well. It was just kind of in a weird price point. But it was weird to see that disappear so quickly, in my opinion. Because, you know, a lot of the stuff that they put out does really well and hangs around for a long, 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 long time. So, which is great for part support and for aftermarket people. When you make a design, it has a long shelf life, that's for sure. So, I picked up recently the speaking of Traxxas, the Bigfoot, and have a video of it. King of RC doing an unboxing, and he's pretty brutal to it, unfairly in some ways, because he wants it to be a monster truck, and it just doesn't really handle like a monster truck. Which, I mean, it has a Bigfoot body on it, so you kind of have some expectations. Granted, monster trucks handled differently back in those days when that body was made, or what era that body is of, not when it's made. But so, you just, after you've driven the LMT, you kind of want monster trucks to be like that. And not handling like that. I would have at least hoped it would have been more like a Granite, and it wasn't. It didn't have the extra power. So, but overall, it drives really good, and it looks fantastic. They nailed it with the looks of it, for being independent suspension. Bigfoot. Well, we just got to get that out in the air, right? It's not a solid axle. I wish that they would do something. I don't know that it's in their cards, because they are pretty, it's like, it wouldn't be in Arma's cards, right? To do a solid axle vehicle like that, because they're meant to be bashed so hard, and just general audience, they're not going to understand when they're breaking it, when they're hitting stuff. And so for that reason, I don't know that Traxxas will release a solid axle monster truck, but yeah. So that's why the King of RC was not like super keen on it, because he wanted to look like a monster truck and do monster truck things. But as just a 2SRC, it does pretty well. But as a 2SRC, it's $350. You can get some faster 3SRCs that are monster truck like, for the same price. So that makes it a little difficult, but it's a great entry level RC as far as handling. And it seems well, like the plastics, everything about it feel nice and well built, and it didn't feel cheap in the way that it drove. Like, again, because it was so plush, the suspension on it. It just was a good ride. It's almost not roughing up. It was almost too good of a ride to feel like a monster truck. So I think that was the problems that the King of RC had with it. But overall, pretty cool RC. And I like it because it'll be great for when visitors come over and I want to let them run stuff. Usually I hand them stuff that is way above what I should be handing them, and it comes back broken. And so I think the speed of this and the quality of the parts would make it one that's kind of harder to break, because they're going to land on throttle and they're going to do a whole bunch of stuff with it that they shouldn't, because they don't know how to drive them. They haven't driven them long enough, RCs, that some of the other ones that I hand them become problematic. And, I want in my head for people to be where I'm at with them and enjoy it. Like, see, check out how cool this is. And you give it to them, but they're not quite sure what to do with it yet. And then they break it. So I think this is just better in a starting point for people as far as speed. It's quick, and it probably feels faster than what most of them have ever driven. But for somebody that's done way, way faster, it's a little bit sluggish. But like I said, drives really well. If I had some bigger jumps, it would look pretty cool, because it have enough speed to get up them and get off and get a little bit of air. But because I don't have big jumps, it doesn't do the extra that you'd want to have fun on the particular course that I have set up right now. So, but yeah, overall, things have been going good, and we're getting back into things here and really looking forward to it. So we're going to sign off here, you guys, and hope that you have a good time RCing, and we'll talk to you soon. All right.